Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, live on Ground Zero Radio. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and hermaphrodites, my fellow slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but so much worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking satanists is Vinny's jokes. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and hermaphrodites, to the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live on Ground Zero Radio, New Zealand Freedom Hub, and Kiwi Radio simulcasting. So all of those of you who are watching on the live streams where you can actually see the video of this, if you want to, go to the homepage of the VinnyEastwoodShow.com, and you should, if we get the Chrome up here, see the Vinny Eastwood Show.com has a list just down on the front page underneath Watch Live. There is a little list of these places where you can watch it. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch are the places where we live stream the video that you can see on screen. For those of you who are on the radio streams, on the other hand, thank you so much nonetheless. And you can get it archived and everything on the latest page of the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. My wonderful sponsors, Holden Health Care.com is a naturopathic care system where basically the whole idea is that the body has a group of tools within itself to heal, and those tools need fuel and in general need to stop toxifying themselves, but nevertheless, if the body has the ability to heal itself if given the right nutrition, it means that a lot of the things that you may be suffering with, long-term illnesses, life-threatening illnesses and things of that nature, you may need yourself a naturopathic oncologist specializing in biochemistry, which is what David Holden at Holden Healthcare is. So I'd encourage you, if you are suffering or you have loved ones who are suffering from health conditions, just remember that David Holden's going to tell you a lot of scary things and a lot of very positive things. The scary things will be that you have to change if you want to live. And the positive thing is that he'll show you how to change so that you can. So that's holdenhealthcare.com. Medical disclaimer is available on the website as well for those of you in the district health boards who are watching, who believe from Rockefeller medicine teachings that there is a pill for every ill and to cure people is the only sin. Anyway, our other sponsor is reopen.nz, which is a directory of anti-mandate, pro-choice, all-inclusive businesses in New Zealand. So if you have a freedom business, or if you're just a freedom-loving person and you just happen to so much as have a business and you want to be included on that list of incredible businesses from all around the country that have very diverse practices and things of that nature, well, look at that. From Palmerston North, we've got Omega Chiropractic and Radiology who've signed up, Garage Doors, Auckland, mate. There's just so many wonderful and diverse people around New Zealand who run businesses and also believe in freedom. So if you guys want to add yourself to the list, go to reopen.nz and add your freedom business today. One of my good mates, Billy TK, is making part 2 of River of Lies, the New Zealand Scamdemic, an investigative documentary. And if you can believe it, and you should be able to because of the way the documentary is made. It's actually available, episode 1, on YouTube, of all things. So if you go to YouTube and search River of Lies episode 1, or just go to riveroflies.co.nz, the link is available there on the homepage, free now to view. And if you can, please do create a little donation for River of Lies so that we can make and finish cutting together River of Lies 2, Electric Boogaloo. Now, we have, of course, my show is sponsored by you, the listeners, the wonderful people out there who are going through so much crap all day, every day. Your families disrespect you, your colleagues and co-workers think that you're crazy, your friends don't frickin' listen to you when you're trying to tell them the truth, and that is a tough situation to be in. If you commit to truth, you're going to lose all those friends, okay? Because you'll realize that they're not really your friends, because they don't really know the real you, because they don't know the true, okay? And they're not worth your effing time. All right? I saw this... I saw my mate John Eisen, who runs Uncensored magazine, and the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine. And one day I had a realization. I was like, I met him like maybe just on the year before I started this broadcast. And I said to him fairly recently, I was like, hey, John, I think I've actually copied your lifestyle. He goes, what do you mean? And I go, well, you don't leave the house very often. You just sit there and you do your work, and get the truth out. And when you do go out, it's only to go and see a select group of people, a very, very small number of them. And that's what he told me, is that because the vast majority of people are not worth your time. All right? Time and attention are the two spiritual currencies. And honestly, most people aren't worthy of yours. The fact that you think that I'm worthy of your time and attention, the show is worthy of your time and attention, is just wow. I'm not sure if you realize how special you are, how interesting you are, how fun you are, how cool you are, that anybody who you deem worthy of your time should be bloody grateful. And I most certainly am. It's an honor to have you listening to this broadcast. Thank you. If you'd like this broadcast to continue, we have some costs coming up. Of course, it's the Christmas season coming up, ladies and gentlemen. And as a activist who does what he does for the goodness of mankind, often the holidays can be the toughest time of year, because that's often when people who work slave jobs get things like Christmas bonuses, time off, and things of that nature. So it does make it very difficult for me sometimes, even to buy presents for family members and whatnot. So if you'd like to I would like you, if you could, if you've got the goodness in your heart for this, make a donation to the Vinny Eastwood show and just say Merry Christmas, because I'm gonna use that to make sure that my kids and my family and things of that nature can actually get some of my time and attention, so I can afford to go and see them and bring gifts and things of that nature. I would really like that. I would really like to do that this year, considering I'm turning 40 just after Christmas. And I'm like, man, I would like to be able to celebrate a birthday too, that kind of thing. But these are all personal little issues and what have you. What I would like to do is thank all those people a week or two ago who, when I did a broadcast saying that this might be the last broadcast and I needed a new studio computer, you guys donated the amount that I needed for a brand new, well, not brand new, it was secondhand technically, but a new computer to do the studio work which we are using as we speak. And it works just beautifully, and you guys helped us to raise the money. It didn't take a week, it didn't take 5 days, it took less than 72 hours. And that shows, or at least it showed me, that there actually really is still a massive amount of support out there for the broadcast, that you people value it, and it does something good for you. And I'm grateful for that, because sometimes it doesn't matter what employment opportunity you happen to be involved in. It helps to know that there's a point, that it's appreciated. Things of that nature. And when I needed help, you guys helped me. And so I just want to say again how grateful I am for you all for supporting the show. The title of today's broadcast is There Is No Your Truth and There Is No My Truth. There is only the truth. It is singular. It is objective. It is immutable. It cannot change. What is true when the universe began will be true when the universe ends. So when people, and I've actually noticed this a lot lately, going out and talking to people, oh, that's your truth, oh, this is my truth, and I'm just like, no, it's not. I'm holding a drink bottle in my hand, okay? That's true. It's objective. You can see it, all right? How do you know that this is, for example, a three-dimensional object? Well, it's got a top, a bottom, a left, a right, a front, and a back side. Well, that's 6 dimensions. So we know that this thing exists in the three-dimensional universe, right? We can prove it. It's measurable. Truth is much the same way. Except instead of top, down, left, right, front, and back, it is who, what, when, where, how, and why. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. If you're trying to investigate something, and people are like, oh, well, how do you even know what's true? That's how. It's pretty straightforward, but it doesn't make itself easy to be known. All right, the truth isn't an easy thing, nor is living a good, decent life, right? It is hard to figure out things. That doesn't mean that we should just give up and stop trying. Stop investigating. Stop learning. That's what slave scum do. And you're not slave scum, are you? I suppose that there is some kind of denial that is going on here, where people believe that it's a possibility that what exists in reality is subject to their perspective, okay? And it's the opposite way round. You are subject to reality. You're experiencing it subjectively, but the reality itself is objective. It's not confusing, it just is what it is. Right? As I say, there's only 2 things you can guarantee about the truth. It is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. People live in these bubbles of make-believe, and some people may, for example, believe that they're bulletproof. And the only thing that can really happen in order to persuade them otherwise is if they get shot, and then they suddenly realize, oh, wait a sec, is that blood? Oh my God, I'm leaking everywhere. I must not be bulletproof. Yes, I told you, bro. All right, human skin does not have the hardness to repel projectiles, all right, that are forced through the air by explosions of gunpowder. That's not what your skin is designed to keep out. It's designed to maybe keep out some dirt and some dust and stuff like that, prevent it from getting into your blood, but not bullets. How do we know this? Well, we can do some objective investigating, can't we? We can run a few tests. That's why your thought process is so important. The science, for example, has this 3-pronged attack. It tries to figure things out. You have a thought, then you test that thought, and then you go with whatever the results tell you. This is called thesis, or rather hypothesis, your thought. What do I think this thing's going to do? And then antithesis. You test that thought in an experiment. And then based upon the results of that experiment, you then get the third stage, which is called synthesis. All right? Hypothesis, antithesis, synthesis. I come up with an idea, I test that idea, and then if the idea proves true because of that testing, then I am now in a symbiotic relationship with the truth. But that's not what scientism does, which is the belief in science, the general profession. All right? Science, the general profession, and science, the concept, are two completely different things. For instance, the peer-reviewed process recently, I think it might have been even a few years ago, approximately 10,000 plus quote-unquote peer-reviewed articles from the scientific community were investigated and discovered to be complete scientific fraud. All right? This is the thing. This is why people, I believe, in some part of me, can't figure out what's true and what's not. Because the very institutions that give you the tools to be able to work those things out have been corrupted and are membered by corrupt people who have either never learned those tools or hide them deliberately from you. This promotes confusion in the world. This is what the intelligence agencies were set up in the first place for during World War II, to confuse the enemy. And the enemy is you. If you know what's going on, if you've got objective tools to figure out from one day to the next what stories you're hearing on the mainstream media are true, that is a real pain in their ass. But if you have no idea and you think this is just my truth and your truth and what have you, then you will go on believing anything you want. What that does is it empowers the people who tell you what you want to hear. Right? The truth is very generally speaking not something you want to hear. Okay? The truth can be very, very dark sometimes and very, very scary. But sometimes it's also inspiring, uplifting, and validating. Okay? Just like the truth about you. You're smarter than the average person. You haven't been corrupted in terms of your moral inner compass. You're willing to accept things that while you don't want them to be true, you know for a fact they are. That is not a common list of attributes. Ladies and gentlemen, you are different, and that is why you get treated differently by other people who don't possess those attributes, for a couple of reasons. The first is that, well, they might be jealous, maybe you make them look bad, and so they have to try and run you down because it makes themselves feel better. The other option is that they're a member of a cult. A cult that is specifically honed in on teaching them to ignore things that invalidate the cult's existence. Okay? If you're in the education cult, for instance, you are the central authority figure. You have a central doctrine that must be obeyed. And everybody has to look to you. And if you question that central doctrine, you question that central authority figure, the other people, the acolytes, the initiates of the cult that you're getting yourself involved in, will see you, as the cult does, a threat to its very existence. They will hate you. They will make you feel miserable. They will ostracize you. They will insult you. They will sabotage you. And there's so many worse things than that they could do, depending on the cult and depending on your level of threat to said cult. And that is where you find yourself. It's practically like living in a post-apocalyptic movie, except the only thing that got destroyed is your previous perception of the truth. Your previous perception of how things were. David Icke called it the postage stamp consensus. If you're looking at a room through a keyhole, you don't really know what's in that room. You can only see a tiny little bit of it, about the size of a postage stamp. But the world, when you pull back your perspective and you start to look all around you, is billions upon billions of times larger than any minor postage stamp perspective. That's why you're so important, is because you're capable of processing larger thoughts that have meaning. The people that you meet in the main won't be having these large thoughts, and if they do, they don't commit to them because they prefer the happiness and the joy that comes with meaninglessness. Okay? People have meaningless lives. Many do, and it's not necessarily their fault. And it's not permanently that way. I used to live a meaningless life, now I don't. You may have used to be living a meaningless life, and now you don't. It's your thoughts, your actions that really count. What do you do with the time that is given to you? Are you placating yourself? Right? I think a lot of people who come to the truth in any part of it don't go the whole hog. You know, it's all very well to know 9/11's an inside job, fluoride is bad for you, mainstream media lies to you, politics is a sham, etc., etc. But if you're not really willing to accept that truth fully and live by its implied lifestyle, you will begin to experience depression and pain and mental illness as a result of not living in congruence with the truth you know to be a fact. That is why you drink. That is why you smoke. That is why you go out and party. That is why you do drugs all the time and things of that nature, because you're an addict. All right? And an addict is not necessarily a bad thing. It's only one aspect of your personality, and it is caused by unresolved trauma. There are a significant amount of self-destructive behaviors that people commit upon themselves and upon others on a regular basis that are self-destructive, but they are the results of trauma. Okay? Just think about that for a second. All your self-destructive habits are a result of unresolved trauma. Now, does that mean that we should go out and poo-poo addicts and say that they're lesser people or something like that? It's like, no, they're suffering, bro. Okay? They haven't had somebody help to raise them. I'm not talking about parenting. I'm talking about raising their consciousness. It's all very well to have a highbrow discussions at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're high on drugs and what have you, but if you don't remember any of those interesting things you learned during that conversation, if you don't apply any of those practices that you have been previously enlightened to, you are not going to be happy. You're going to be stuck in the 4th stage of the grief process, which is depression, where most people who have suffered a great trauma stay. The 5th stage is acceptance. You can accept, yes, this has happened to me. Yes, it wasn't fair. And yes, it wasn't my fault. But no, I'm not going to let it beat me. I am going to survive. I am going to improve myself. I am going to take responsibility for what I'm doing to myself, for what I'm doing in the world, to bring my heart, my mind, and my gut instincts into alignment, so that what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I'm doing are all supportive of each other. That same narrative that we tell ourselves, this is the truth, I must work, I must serve. There is, however, another element that has affected the truth movement, and I think virtually every other industry as well. I haven't had so many conversations with people about this over the years. Come up and talk to this guy or this woman, and I ask them what they do for a living, and they say, "Oh, I used to do this and such and blah blah blah, and I was really good at it, but now I'm doing this." And I go, really? Like you might have been a really successful bartender or something of that nature, or an events coordinator, something that's involved with people or creativity or real hard work, etc., that requires skill. And this person, might be a man, might be a woman, comes into that industry, into that workplace, and they bring with them toxicity, a corrosive negativity that slides all over everything like fire in zero gravity. And all the joy that you once had working in this particular field, doing those particular jobs, creatively solving these particular problems, they suddenly lose their shine. Their luster is gone, as if your life purpose in itself has been taken from you, as you are demotivated by the habits of these individuals that come into your life, that come into your workplaces. These are curses, okay? It may be difficult to think about this. This is just a general way of looking at it so you can understand the concept. There are people in this world whom to have contact with them curses. You see? There's a curse right there. Curses your life. And the Native Americans, they have this saying that if you want to remove a curse from your life, you have to remove all contact with the person who has cursed you. That's what you have to do. You have to get these people the hell out of your life. You look at your productivity, it'll just go you know. I've gotten some bad influences out of my life recently, and I think, what was it, the other night I was up till about 7 a.m, you know, couldn't sleep, didn't want to sleep. I was working really, really hard doing this audio play for the movie Grindspot that we're working on. It's so it's so funny and really heartfelt and really real. You know, I spent what was it, 9 months working on the script here or there before I kind of got it to the first draft proper stage, and now what I'm doing is I'm turning that into an audio version. So I'm doing all the voices, and I'm taking movie soundtracks from like some of the best films in the world that have ever been made, and adding them in and making little radio plays with the script by myself. You know, I've put so many hours into it, and I find it incredibly rewarding. And the only reason I was able to do that is because there were people in my life who were so freaking negative and so stressful for me to communicate with that I had to cut them off, you know, and just like not try and contact them anymore. And my productivity just went and I was like, wow, oh my goodness. It's taken me like 9 months to finish the script because I was dealing with those people. And now that I'm actually just working on it by myself without any contact with those people, I've nearly finished narrating and cutting together the entire script in a couple of days. You know, in less than a week, and I hope to get it finished within the next few days itself. And it's like, this is the creative process. Bad people in your life who stress you out and whinge and bitch and moan and complain and point out the problems with what you're doing and so on and so forth. Get them out of your life. You will be free. So free. Like, that sound that you make when you sit on a really, really comfortable chair or couch or something. You know what sound that couch makes. Like, oh, bro, mate, I highly recommend it. And of course, there's so many people out there who are involved in your life in such ways that you can't just get rid of. And that will destroy you. That's going to give you cancer, bro. All right? You may think to yourself that, I can't get rid of them or whatever. Cut your losses. Get them out of there. They're destroying your life. They're destroying your productivity. There was even a study that noticed this specifically, that they would have a group of very positive people working on projects, average out their average level of, productivity per day. And then they took one of those positive people out and put a negative person in. The productivity of the whole group, just by having somebody there who is not coming up with solutions, who's always pointing out problems, who's always bitching and moaning and complaining. That's their three main skill sets: bitching, moaning, and complaining. You might think that all those things are exactly the same thing and that they're not any different, and therefore they don't actually have any real skills. And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. That's exactly right. Now, I have this little technical glitch on the side of the YouTube stream here, guys. You'll have to forgive me for just 1 second here while I put that out. There we go. All right, so I think the main thing I'm trying to get at here is that people don't care about you. All right, you ever get that sensation that you're talking about one of your problems, some of your deep thoughts or something like that, or you're showing somebody something creative that you've done and you just get this feeling that they don't care? Stop talking to those people. Okay, my producer, the somewhat fabulous Mr. Mitch Santel, giving myself a cold by doing all this work lately. Hold on. He said, make a list. Make a list of all those people in your life who say things like can't happen, won't happen, look at the problems here, what will people say, so on and so forth, and never call them again. Sounds harsh, right? But the wisdom of his words I've subsequently found to be quite significant, because it latches onto a very important truth. Supportive people are extraordinarily valuable because they help keep you motivated, they help keep you happy, and they help keep you productive. All right? Imagine somebody who promotes the opposite of that. That's going to affect your life. That's going to affect everything that you do. And you do yourself no service by having any further contact with them at all. No service to yourself. It doesn't matter how fun they are when they're in a particular mood, if there's all this other baggage that can just pop up at any point like that when they get into a bad mood. It's all very well that they have things and resources and services and things of that nature that you want to engage in and you want to work with and you want to benefit from. But if it comes with all this other baggage, it's just not worth it. Okay? Keep these people at arm's distance. They're not worth your time, bro. They're just not worth your effing time. Why is this important? Well, look at it. We've got a question in here from Debbie Lacey. She's telling me, how old were you when your parents divorced, if you don't mind me asking? Thank you. I think she was asking that of DK. And Tone Deaf is saying we've all suffered trauma, including myself. And that's the thing. He's also saying don't dwell on the negative. All right, now, so there's a difference between negativity and positivity. Now, everything exists in polarity. There are opposites, There's little fish and there's big whales. There's little moons and there's giant planets. There's white dicks and black dicks. There's smaller or larger versions of everything else. And you put negativity and positivity into this spectrum. Like there's a reason for it to exist. For instance, if you're getting yourself into a dangerous situation, like a business deal with a psychopath or something like that, who wants to get you in debt and charge you interest and things of that nature in order to then make money somehow, all right, that's a dangerous situation. And if somebody said to you, "Oh, don't dwell on the negative," or whatever, hey, but that was what warning me from getting involved with these people in the first place, because they're dangerous. You know? They're dangerous, these people. And you have to be able to accept that negativity exists and utilize it in the way it was meant to function. That doesn't mean sitting there, and this is the most important word I've learned in the last couple of years, ruminating. You've done that, haven't you? I know you have. I've done it heaps. You sit there and you think about the same frickin' annoying traumatic incident, that same gaslighting, abusive, ungrateful person in your life. And you sit there and you think about it over and over and over again. What should I have said to them? How could I have done this different? Why did this happen to me? That is dwelling on the negative par excellence, okay? You know, that's ruminating. And mature people don't do that. They just don't. Whatever has happened to you has happened to you. If it does no good to keep running it around. Okay? It's like having a hamster wheel that's covered in barbed wire inside your brain that you are spinning constantly. That is dwelling on the negative. That is rumination. And if that's what you mean by that, tone deaf, totally agree on that. Because it's not something that benefits you or anybody else for that matter. And to absolutely believe. And I don't know why there are some people like this specifically. I don't know who hasn't mentored them. I don't know why they haven't taken responsibility for their own thoughts and actions. But these people are there. They are very structured in their negativity. Everything has to be an exact certain way, the way that I've been told, the way that I haven't practiced. But now I have to act superior because I know some about these things and haven't practiced them. But that's more than you because you haven't even learned them in the first place. You've just been practicing them, and you know them better than me. But I've learned why these things are more important, so I know more than you about how they are. That's great. That's great. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is you are straitjacketing yourself. Okay, professions do this specifically to straitjacket the creativity of the people that are working under them. And maybe they're doing it for a reason. Maybe creative people, like in various art industries and things of that nature, are very broken people, okay? And very negative people, a lot of them. And so in order to make those broken, negative people work in a way that is at least somewhat productive, you've got to have cult indoctrination over them. They've got to be there for a reason. Like the reason, for example, you're being paid. The reason, for example, your reputation is going to be enhanced by the work on this project, etc., etc. If they have that motivation and on top of that, a whole massive list of different language, different rules, and different practices that the general public wouldn't understand whatsoever, then you've got a reasonably efficient machine of mind control in order to harness those people's creative energy and power to benefit the project. Okay? Now, I personally believe that this might be the reason why the film industry has gone so, quote-unquote, awry with wokeness of late, is because people aren't thinking and being positive and creating. They are repeating and being negative and reproducing. All right? It's retrospective and prospective. Okay? Prospective, you're looking out the windshield of your car and you're driving forward. Retrospective, you're looking at the rear view mirror of your car and you're driving forward. You see? People's experiences force them to adapt to new ways of thinking, to new ways of doing things, and that the trauma that we experience just in general life, it might have been early childhood trauma, it might have been an abusive partner, it might have been a psychopath that stole your business or your house, or a scammer that came into your life, or something like that. The kind of stuff that you didn't really deserve. But I'll tell you what, the most valuable lessons in life will be those that cost you the most. When Mel Gibson went to Hollywood, he lost money on a number of different projects, okay? And he called these losses university fees. All right? Think about that. Imagine, for example, you were to go to film school and you get yourself $50,000 in debt. Or you were to get yourself into $50,000 in debt to make a film. You see? One of them, they're both learning experiences, and they both come with fees associated with them. I mean, the difference, of course, being that one of those industries that you're involved with will produce something for their monies and the debt. However, the other side of thing, you may or may not produce really much of anything. And you may have been getting educated for so long in a cult institution like higher education institutions, where your motivation and your inspiration is gone. There's a message that I saw from Ralphie from Kiwi Radio this morning. He went out to a dance party and he filmed it, and the next day, he had a working cut of that dance party with a soundtrack to it that he was releasing on YouTube, and he said that it helps to get it done quickly while the inspiration is still there. You can't let your inspiration lapse, can you? And I was like, actually that's a very brilliant practice, because inspiration's dynamic. If you are sitting there, I don't know, having dinner or something like that, or lunch or whatever, and then right in the middle of chewing your food, you have this great idea for a song, or a great idea for a joke, or a fantastic idea for a piece of artwork. Write it down. At the very least, take notice of it. If not, get up off of your ass and start creating it, whatever it happens to be. Because that inspiration is there right then, right there, and only then and there. Capture it. Allow it to pull you. It's like wind in your sails. If you are sitting there and you're like, oh, I want to just relax, I just want to go to bed or something, but the inspiration strikes you or whatever, that's telling you that you need to stay up. You need to be doing this work, bro. Stayed up till 7 o'clock in the morning recording voices and stuff, cut this scene together, and it was, to me anyway, really emotional, because there's a death in the scene, and I had to do the voices right. I had to actually really channel a lot of real darkness and sadness and things of that nature, because when people die on films or something like that and the character's crying over them or something like that, if you don't actually hear the emotion in their voice, if the frequency of grief, isn't there in the tone of voice, it's not convincing. Right? The whole point of making art is to make people feel something, to make them feel something, force them to have a physical reaction in their emotional centers, okay? That would be measured in mostly two ways: crying and laughing. If you can get your audience to laugh and cry, you are doing very, very well as an artist. You can add on to that, are you able to get their adrenaline pumping? Are you able to get them to grip tightly onto their chairs, right? This is something that's not real, that they're looking at, and you, as the artist, are creating the scenario whereby their brain starts interpreting it as real, and they actually feel something, right? That is the point of artwork as far as I'm concerned. That is the main driver behind it. Now, in so doing, if you are capable of producing something that doesn't exist yet, you can see it in your head first, and then you spend your time willing that thing that you see and hear in your head into the 3D universe. Only there does it now have value. There's so many people out there who are talking about stuff that they're gonna do, or stuff that they already have done. They're either a one-trick pony, or they're just a no-trick pony. All right, it's bloody annoying. I like the whole idea of not telling really anybody anything that you're doing to a large degree until it's actually ready to be seen, right? Because while you've got the motivation to do something and to finish it, if you run into one negative person who doesn't like what you're doing, who disparages you, who insults you, who doesn't appreciate you, it may potentially, quite rightly so, demotivate you from starting the project that you're talking to them about, or finishing the project that you're in the middle of, because they demotivate you with their negativity. Stop talking to them. All right? Again, not worth your effing time. I believe that there's something deep inside us all that wants to be listened to, that wants to be appreciated, that wants to be cared about, that wants to be remembered. We all want people to remember the things that we've done. We want to pass that knowledge on. We want to have, as the Greeks said, a tree whose shade you know you'll never get to sit beneath. Things that are left for future generations. This is what the great work is about. Magnum opus. What is your purpose? What is your job here in this existence? And Mark Passio said that basically the great work, it's singular, ending slavery. I will say that again. The great work, singular, is ending slavery. Now, that doesn't mean that you're fighting up against the system all day, every day, and things of that nature. The system didn't create slavery, per se. It is the people who perpetuate slavery through their own inaction that really create the fertile ground by which the slave mentality can get itself into a position where it believes that being a slave, being obedient, and being ignorant is a virtue, but it ain't. And that's why so many people who are of the leftist political persuasion happen to have a form of mental illness. You know, I believe there was this therapist who said that close to 80% of the people in her practice were leftists. And that's what happens when you've got conflicting ideas. If you believe that collectivism is all the good and the individual doesn't matter and freedom doesn't matter and things of that nature, that the truth doesn't matter, that is a mental illness manifested into an ideology. All right? Imagine if you had a mental illness ideology, like the ideal of your existence is being mentally ill. That is what we're dealing with on the whole thing. Because these people don't know who they are. They don't know what influence other people have upon them and their ideas. And they don't care much to know. Do they? They just want somebody to take responsibility for them, somebody to mummy them, somebody to daddy them. And maybe we all need a bit of mummying. Maybe we all need a bit of daddying from time to time. And if you didn't get it before the age of 7, you're in trouble, son. You know? We're having some difficulties with this other computer here. I'm going to figure out what is actually happening on that for those of you on the YouTube streams. I apologize here. Where is my screensaver? There we go. And do not show the screensaver. There we go. All right, let's try that one. Oh my goodness. Yes, little technical issues and things of that nature seem to be clouding around today. Just like, you know when some scary stuff happens, right? Like you've got something that you do your work on and your life's work, and then that device goes, and you're like, ah! You know, just for a second, and then it just comes back up and you're like, oh, goodness sake, that was terrifying, right? So that's just what happened here with the other studio computer. It's just like, no! Yeah, I'm definitely getting a cold. Probably shouldn't have stayed up into the middle of the night working on an artistic project, eh? All that stuff comes at a cost. So, yeah. Coming into the few last final minutes of the show here today. Oh, goodness sake. What have you guys got to say? What are you doing? You know? I want to know, because often we don't get asked questions. Have you ever noticed that when people are talking to you, they don't appear interested in what you're saying? You know? They don't really ask questions of you. They just keep talking. They might reply to what you've said and what have you, but you get a sense that they're not actually trying to get to know you. Now, DK's asking me if I want to be on his radio show on Sunday. Possibly, bro. Possibly, but I think I have work on. So it depends on what time. So just private message me and we'll suss that out, because I think I'm going to be helping a mate of mine build some things on Saturday and Sunday over the next few weekends. So... Michael Vacon is saying, I say to folks, do you want mummy, the palm, or daddy, the backhand? It's like, do you want to, be disciplined in what way? You know, do you want to be gently ushered in this way? Oh, okay, yeah, cool. I'll do that. Or are you a bit petulant and you need to have a smack to the face or some punishment or something of that nature? Okay, reward and punishment. This is what Jordan Peterson was talking about in terms of parenting. You have to have very clear rewards and very clear punishments for very clear rules. All right, that helps you to develop a sense of what is right and what is wrong and what you should be taking responsibility for. And again, I had this idea that there's an intergenerational pain in mankind. And what happened was there was a war, all right? Let's say it's World War I, the Great War or whatever. And so all the honourable, good young men and stuff like that, all the brave ones, they go over there and they either get killed or they come home traumatized as hell. And then they traumatize their children. And then those children grow up. And then there's another war. And those children have to go off to war traumatized in the first place, and they get traumatized even further, and then come back, and then traumatize their children. So you got generation after generation of people growing up being traumatized by traumatized people, by traumatized parents, right? What is happening to parenting? What is happening to all of this kind of stuff? It's so difficult, And DK says it's the change of season and your body adjusting. Don't keep giving it the crap names Farmer gave us. Yeah. Sorry. Is it like totally supportive of the New World Order to say that I've got a bit of a cold at the moment? All right, because colds are quote unquote incurable. But I think the connotation there is that it's caused by a virus or something of that nature. I was around somebody who was sick. And I was like, no, I wasn't. I wasn't around anybody. I was just stressing myself and my body out and pushing myself too hard, and with all the pollen in the air and all of that kind of stuff, my body got thrown a little bit out of whack. And so what it's telling me to do is take a little bit of rest and drink some water and get some sleep and have some vitamin C and some garlic and echinacea and turmeric and so on and so forth, the amount of herbs and things of that nature. Right? That's all that it is when I mean a cold. But I can appreciate that, people will think, oh, well, you're just going to go get yourself some painkillers and some things to bring your temperature down and the stuff of that nature. It's like, no. The reason why your body develops a temperature is so it can sweat out all the crap that's inside it. All right? All the crap that's inside your body doesn't like high temperatures, so your body increases the temperature in order to get rid of it. That's it. And I think that people have made a lot of money over the years, particularly the pharmaceutical industry, who are the biggest money-making institutions in the world's history. They make hand over fist. You know who else makes money hand over fist? Drug dealers. Why? Because drugs are very expensive because of the fact that they're illegal. All right? If cocaine wasn't illegal, if you could have like multiple coca plants in your back garden and stuff like that, how much would cocaine cost a gram? Certainly not hundreds and hundreds of dollars or something of that nature. It'd be cheap as chips. But because it's illegal, the price hikes up because people want drugs. They want them. And that's what the pharmaceutical industry is doing, except the fact that their drugs are quote-unquote legal. They're immoral, they're unethical, but they're legal. You see? And that is what fraud is really all about. You just want to fraud people, to tell them that there's something that's affecting you that you clearly don't understand, so I'm going to have to give you something that makes you feel even worse, but I can assure you that it's working, and then give you more and more and more different types of stuff to make it even worse and even worse and even worse. And because I'm a doctor, I'm here to, I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to heal you. It's like, no, you're not. All right? Most of these institutions, they're basically the exact opposite. They're basically the exact opposite of everything that they say they are. The Ministry of Health, They're like the leading cause of death in this country. What? Ministry of Health leading cause of death? Yeah, mate. Have a look. Medical malpractice and reactions to poorly prescribed medications, cancer treatments, and so on and so forth. Each of those things individually kill heaps and heaps of people. They're like the fourth, fifth, and eighth biggest killers in New Zealand. And then if you add them together, because the medical industry is the supplier exclusively of those three causes of death, they actually overall mean it that the medical institution is the leading cause of death. Okay? Oh, we have to go to the hospital to save my life. No, you're going to the hospital for them to kill you, or to come up with excuses where they can, right? You're more likely to be killed by a doctor than practically any other factor. Bro. And most institutions are like that. Just have a look at things and assume that they are the exact opposite of what they say they are. The police here, we're here to protect and serve. No, you're not. You're there to punish and enslave. Justice Department. We're here to administer justice. No, you're not. You're here to preside over crime. You know? To let the wrong people go and put the right people down. Scumbag? This term shill gets used a lot. Okay? And I once asked my mate, he's like, oh, I think he's a shill. And I was just like, do you know what shill means? And like, well, I don't know, somebody who speaks for the government? It's like, no, that's not specifically where it means. This is not the origin of the word here. A shill, if I may take you back to the 1800s. There was a guy named Big Bill Rockefeller. He was a traveling snake oil salesman. Starting to make a little bit more sense, the Rockefeller family now, isn't it? He, unlike most snake oil salesmen, what you'd do is, by yourself, you'd roll into a town with this stuff in a bottle and you'd make all sorts of stupid claims about it. This can stop you going bald. This can relax your back. This can make childbirth painless, whatever. And it doesn't do anything. It's just crap, right? And so by the time, however, you've scammed everybody in the town and sold them all this snake oil, you then get the hell out of there and you've got all this money from your fraud. What shills do is the snake oil salesman comes into the town and he pays a few people in the crowd that is gathered to back him up. So if he says this cures of baldness, a guy with a big, thick head of hair will take off his hat and show everybody his thick, beautiful locks and say, yeah, it cured mine. And that helps to give people legitimacy. That's what shills do. They fraudulently back up the fraudsters in order to give people an impression, stronger impression anyway, that this fraudster isn't a fraudster and that what he's shilling, what he's selling, must be real, must be valuable. Okay, that's what shills do. And at the moment anyway, we've got, I don't know, could you call the mainstream media just shill media? Really? At the end of the day? Because isn't that exactly what they're doing? 24/7 backing up the fraudsters that are running society? It seems about right, doesn't it? And I've got a belief that, honestly, honesty in and of itself is so rare that it's become incredibly valuable. And I think that's why people still support the show after so many years, is because I'm at least honest with you. You know? I don't want to just tell you that you're going to be saved if you do X, Y, Z or whatever. I'm not about that. You guys can save yourself. You can take responsibility for yourself. Mostly what I'm here to do is a protracted form of grief counseling. All right? Because we've all suffered, we've all gone through a whole bunch of crap, and it's been very hard for us to deal with. And it really helps to be able to have somebody who at least knows in some part what we're going through, who can talk about these things honestly, so that we can be validated in the thoughts and the feelings that we've had over the years. Yeah? That is an important job. When I ask for money sometimes for things that I need in order to continue this work, frequently people will tell me to go get a job. This is a job. I create things, I give them out, and people benefit from my works in many diverse and wonderful ways, as diverse and wonderful as the audience themselves are. If that is of value to you, if you believe it is of value to mankind, if you believe it is of value going forward, go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com, click on that donate page, and donate through the PayPal, the Kiwi Bank, and please think about becoming a Patreon. It would be great if we could get that Patreon thing up, because I'm going to start putting exclusive content on there on request. If you're a Patreon and you're listening and you have a very specific request for a show or a work or something like that you'd like me to produce, just send me a message and I will make it, and it'll be an exclusive little Patreon thing there. So yeah, guys, I'm going to be putting something up on there. I might be putting the radio version of the Grindspot script up there on Patreon, just for those Patreons to listen to privately. And it's bloody fun. It's bloody fun stuff, mate. I'm going to give you all sorts of benefits, guys, because frankly, you're the main inspiration for the show. It's all the conversations that I have with you offline and online and things of that nature that have really created the show. You send me all the guests, you know? Practically every single person who's ever come on the show, I haven't discovered by myself, somebody else, one of my learned listeners, one of my loyal listeners will contact me and said, have you got this guy on? And I'll say, no, I haven't had him on yet. Send me their email or whatever, and I'll get them on the show. And sometimes they say, oh, can you get this person back? And I was like, yes, I absolutely will. You know, the donors and the Patreons really do help to craft the shape of the direction for where the Vinny Eastwood show goes. And I am just so grateful to all of you, again, for those of you who've been donating for a very long time. I understand that this show is meaningful to you and it has value to you, and I am just so grateful to be of service. Please allow me to keep serving you. Please allow me to keep serving the truth. And please support the show. Donate to the Vinny Eastwood Show.com. That's the Vinny Eastwood Show.com. Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question. And Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news. Thank you so much to holdenhealthcare.com and reopen.nz for sponsoring today's broadcast. And thank you so much to the people who are allowing me to stream on their networks, Freedom Hub New Zealand, Kiwi Radio, and of course, Ground Zero.radio. We'll see you again sometime.
Gentlemen, I brought you here to discuss the Eastwood problem. It may be necessary to penetrate the Vinny Eastwood Show. The Vinny Eastwood Show. Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, I've been working on a new Vinny scene. I think that might be the kind of penetration we need.
The Vinny Eastwood Show. Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live on Ground Zero Radio.